And a very good morning to you. It's John Fradgley from the Bell Legal Group, back with you for another program of The Law and You right here on 4CRB, and fresh from Breakfast with Barry a little bit earlier. This is your opportunity to get free legal advice right here on 4CRB. All we need you to do is get on that telephone as soon as you possibly can, 55208888. That number again, 55208888. Don't forget, if you're south of the border, you'll need to put 07 in front of the number to get through. But we would ask you to get on the phone as soon as you possibly can, rather than leaving it to the last 15 minutes or so of the program, as happened last week, where we had a number of calls come through towards the end of the program. Fortunately, we were able to take them all on air, with the exception of one, so that was good. But it does make for a better program if you can call now, 55208888, because not only can we answer your query, but we can also answer queries for other listeners who may be out there with a similar problem to yours, but are just not in a position to get to the telephone to call. So get on that telephone as soon as you can. You could actually be the first caller for the program this morning. In the meantime, you can still continue to become a supporter of 4CRB by going online. So if you go to the 4CRB website, you can complete your details online, and then you can arrange to pay by BPay. You'll be given an individual number, and you'll be able to put your BPay payment through to become a supporter. And as I was saying with breakfast, with Barry over breakfast this morning, if you are in a financial position where you can possibly pay it forward for one or more supporters out there, we would very much appreciate that, because as I was mentioning, Saturday and Sunday were certainly very concerning days for this radiothon. We were down several thousands of dollars, and I think all of us here at the station are concerned as to whether we'll be able to make that shortfall up over the remainder of Radiothon. So please, if you are in a financial position where you are able to pledge more than the $60, we would certainly very much appreciate that support. I thought, because we are becoming more entrenched in the COVID-19 pandemic, which is gripping the state and the nation at the present time, it might be an appropriate time to just run through a few things that are available out there for people in business. That we're being, to a certain extent, bombarded with information, and that's extremely good. I think the government is doing, both state and federal, are doing a wonderful job in the area of their response to this COVID-19 crisis. But sometimes there is just so much information being imparted, it's hard to keep up with what's going on. As a lawyer, one of the things that I know many of our small business clients are concerned about is the prospect of trading whilst insolvent if they operate through a company. And early on, the government did announce that there was going to be temporary relief for 6 months for directors from personal liability while trading whilst insolvent. And this obviously is because the government realises that the 6 months from about 1 February or 1 March is going to be a very difficult time. And if people are struggling to try and keep their business open, the last thing they want to be worried about is the prospect of being prosecuted for trading whilst insolvent. And so this is a very worthwhile thing for the government to do. But for those people who think, oh, well, this is a great opportunity for me to run up debt in my business and I'll be immune from personal liability, you need to think twice, because it has been made very clear that if people recklessly incur debts, then they may still attract criminal liability for insolvent trading. So it's temporary relief for directors who are genuinely trying to keep their businesses afloat, but it will not excuse the reckless incurring of debts as a result of that. But enough of that. We've got a number of calls online, and we say a very good morning to Bill. G'day, Bill. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks, John. And yourself?
Well, indeed. How can I help you today?
On your program of recent times, you've had a number of inquiries, talks on powers of attorney.
Yes.
my question is, can you put something in your power of attorney that would direct your attorney to do what you wanted to do? And, the instance that I'm speaking of is that now that one is relatively with it, but has the view that they don't want to be resuscitated should something disastrous happen.
Right.
But the family comes together and says, we don't want a poor dear old dad to be put away or whatever it might be. Can you write that to tell your attorney that when the time does come, you do not want to be, or you direct them to say not to resuscitate?
Right. Well, Bill, the better place to put that is actually in what's called an advance health directive. So that's a document that you actually complete with your doctor and then eventually have witnessed by a justice of the peace or a solicitor or other qualified witness. And in that document, It specifically covers the questions you're asking about. Now, the reason they like you to complete that document, or they require you to complete that document with your doctor, is so that the doctor can be satisfied that you are making reasonable and informed choices about the things that you do and do not want. So, yes, It is certainly possible to do that, but the document to do it in is the Advance Health Directive rather than your enduring power of attorney.
Great. Thank you so much for your help.
Okay, Bill, all the very best.
Okay.
Time on 4CRB, 12 minutes past 9, past 10 on the tweed, as we say a very good morning to John. G'day, John. How are you? Are you there, John? No, we seem to have lost John. Oh, no, you're there now, John. We thought we'd lost you for a moment.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good on you. How can we help you today?
I have a question. I made a mistake. A friend of mine, I thought he was a friend of mine, he was in a little bit of strife at one stage, and I loaned him some money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's nothing in writing or anything.
Mm-hmm.
All I've got is the dates and that. And the arrangement was that he paid me back as he could.
Yep.
Now, it's been 3 years since that took place. Now, legally, would I have to notify him to recover or try and recover some of that money? Or
yes. Did he repay any of it at all, John?
Nope.
Hasn't paid a cent. Okay.
Nope.
Well, and are you in Queensland or New South Wales?
Queensland.
Okay, because the statute of limitations is 6 years, so you're well within the statute of limitations. I would suggest that you send a letter of demand as soon as you possibly can.
Can I do that through an email?
Yes, you can certainly do it on an email. So you could just email him and say, look, Jack, unfortunately things are getting a bit tough. And I really do need that money back. Unfortunately, you haven't paid back any of it in the time that I've allowed. So I'd be grateful if you could repay it, and I'll give you X number of days to repay the amount in full. And then when you get to the end of that period, if he hasn't paid it back, then I'd send him a second email and say, look, Jack, I'm really sorry that you haven't responded to my email. And unfortunately, if you don't pay the money back within 7 days, I'll be left with no alternative but to take legal action to recover it.
Okay. Well, thanks for that.
Okay then, John, all the very best with that.
Okay, fine.
Time on 4CRB, 14 minutes past 9, past 10 on the tweed, as we say a very good morning to Helen. G'day, Helen. How are you?
Oh, good morning. Good morning, John.
How can I help?
I've just got a general question. I'm in the seniors category, and some of us, or most of our generation, always put a bit of money aside, like cash money.
Yep.
And in view of this COVID-19 threat, we now being conditioned to know that there's going to be a cashless society soon, or in the making. Just wondering, can we convert our cash into, say, gift cards, and would they be still usable?
Look, Helen, I would be reluctant to do that because gift cards rely upon the particular business you choose still being in business. So, I still believe that the best place to have your money is in the bank. I definitely don't believe in having large sums of money at home. That's a big mistake. And as we enter more and more into desperate times, you become more and more of a target. So I don't think there's any doubt that the government will ensure that the banks are propped up. There's certainly no suggestion at this stage that there's any problem at all with the banks. You know, and if you're going to buy gift cards, I mean, the other thing you could think about doing there would be putting your credit card into credit. So rather than, you know, sometimes people pay money onto their credit card so that they can draw cash down off it. So that might be a possibility. But I would speak to your bank first about it and just see what they recommend to you as the best thing to do. But certainly for me, you know, I think money in the bank is as safe as anywhere.
Okay, I just one other thing was, like, at Christmas time we actually received a Visa card, it was just a Visa prepaid gift card. Would that still be honoured on it, or as you're saying, just put the money on a credit card or whatever?
Well, they're honoured by Visa, but you do need to check the card. I bought one of those over the Christmas period for someone. I'm just trying to think who it was, and I just can't recall whether it has a time limit on it. So you just need to check whether there is a time limit on when you must spend the money on that. And there's just something that's immediately rung in my mind, that I was quite surprised that some companies had said that they were going to make gift cards would no longer have an expiry date. And I'm certainly not talking about every gift card, but some companies had said that there would not be an expiry date. And something in the back of my mind says to me, I was surprised when I read the conditions on that prepaid Visa card I bought, that it actually did have an expiry date on it, which quite surprised me. So, yes, just be a little bit careful about any of those things. I would speak to your bank.
Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you very much,
Helen.
for your help, John.
All the very best.
Have a good day.
You too. And the time on 4CRB is just coming up to 17 and a half minutes past 9. That's, of course, past 10 on the Tweed, as we say a very good morning to Denise. G'day, Denise. How are you?
I'm fine. I don't know if my phone will click in and out. Telstra's working down around my area and it's a bit wobbly as I was listening.
That's okay. We'll do our best.
Okay. Look, I was just wondering, don't go out a lot anyway because God's healing me from a lot of things and my immune system and that. And I just wanted to change. Would I be able to ring my solicitor or lawyer or whatever, whoever the person is we did our will with, and just change something there? What I'm trying to say is I left a certain amount of money to all my nieces and nephews, but one niece can't be traced, and it's worried me for a while that some things that happened with my mum's will, that it took about 2 years to trace somebody, and that chewed up a lot of the money we got left by her, my brothers and sisters, you know.
Yes.
And I just thought I wanted to change that because I can't go out. Do you think they would, in these unusual circumstances, be able to do that, change it? I think it starts with a C or something. You put a little bit on there.
Codicil.
And sort of delete that lapse from my...
Yeah, so you would make a codicil to your will to do that.
Yeah.
What you may be able to do, you can't do it over the phone, unfortunately, Denise, but what you may be able to do is that you could ring them up and tell them the change you want, then they would be able to send the document out for you to sign at home. Now, at the present time, you're not meant to have more than two people together at the one time, and the problem there is that a will to be valid requires two witnesses present at the same time that the testator signs. So, but I would think that there would probably be an exemption if you were signing a codicil. You could, I think that would be regarded as an essential thing. It's certainly an issue for us in witnessing documents at the office at the present time, because we've got to make sure that we maintain social distancing within the office to witness documents when they're being signed. So, an inquiry on that. I could actually, what I might do is just see whether the Law Society have issued any directives about that. I did see something come through late last week, which may be of help.
Oh, thank you very much, and God bless you all. It's just lovely to have you all talking about things and that sort of contact. And I really praise God for 4CIB.
Well, thank you very much for that, Denise, and thank you for being such a loyal supporter.
Oh, look, it's meant so much to me over the last 20 years since we've been here.
Fantastic. All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. And the time just keeps rolling along, 20 and a half minutes past 9, and that's 20 and a half minutes past 10, south of the border. Good morning, Peter. How are you today?
Good, thank you, John.
How can we help?
What I wanted to ask you is that I've got a property, and my wife and I own it, and my son. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the situation is it's like a what do you call it? It's not a house, it's a unit, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and any rate, my son wants to give us. He owns half of it. He just wants to give it to us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to. We're not going to pay him or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's just giving it to us.
Yep.
And so I want to know is that. Have you still got to pay stamp duty on that when someone gives it to you?
Yes.
Yeah, why is that?
Because it's a transfer of real estate, and so therefore it doesn't come within one of the exemptions.
But see, I'm not getting any money, so why have I got to pay the government?
Well, yes, but you are receiving a financial benefit. So you're receiving your son's share of the property, which has a value, and the stamp duty laws provide that transfers of property attract stamp duty. So unfortunately, you will have to pay stamp duty on the transfer of that interest in the property.
You know what the percentage is?
Look, I don't know off the top of my head, Peter, but I think it starts at something like 2% and goes up quite high, I think 4.25. But do you have access to the internet?
Oh, my wife would.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you go online, are you in Queensland or New South Wales?
We're in Queensland, but the property's in New South Wales.
Property's in New South Wales. Okay, so you'll need to look at the New South Wales Office of State Revenue website, and I would be very surprised if they don't have a stamp duty calculator on their website. Peter, are you and your wife on the pension by any chance?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, well, you also need to be very careful about what value is involved in that half share of the property your son is going to give you, that it won't adversely affect your pension entitlements.
But
because it may put you over the asset limit, for example, to the point where it's either going to reduce your pension or cut your pension out completely. So.
Really?
Yes, so you need to be very careful before you simply proceed.
So my son's not allowed to give me something.
Well, he
the
can.
The government's going to rip me off.
No, well, not quite, because you're going to receive something, so your assets are going to increase.
No, but I'm not going to get any cash.
No, it doesn't matter. You're still receiving an asset which you could sell and convert to cash. So what I would suggest you do is work out what the value of that property is that your son is thinking of giving you half.
How do I work that out?
Well, you could ring a real estate agent and just say, look, can you just give me a guesstimate of what that property is worth? You would then look at what your assets are at the present, look at the threshold for a married couple as to what you can have before your pension is affected. And if you have any concerns about that, you can either look on the Centrelink website, or alternatively you could go into a Centrelink office and they'd be able to assist. But you need to look through all of those things carefully, Peter, before you do it, because it's one of those things, marry in haste, repent at leisure.
Yeah, and I mean, the funny part about it is that my son never had to pay anything. I paid the whole lot.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I just gave it to him.
Yes, I understand that, but there would have been stamp duty payable at that time. But we'll have to leave it there, Peter. We've got a couple more callers online and only 5 minutes to go. Nice to chat. Bye now. Time on 4CRB, just going up to 25 minutes past 9, past 10 on the tweed as we say good morning to James. G'day, James. How are you today?
G'day, John. I'm listening on the web.
Good on you. Where are you listening from?
Bundaberg.
What a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, the daughter and grandkids live in a house of mine up here, so we're listening here. I got a couple of points.
Sure.
You spoke about putting money into credit card and putting your credit card into a positive balance and then drawing on that. And I discovered the Queensland Bank, but not Bank of Queensland, that was previously Metway, charges you $5 for every withdrawal of cash off your credit card, even if you're in credit.
Right.
And the New South Wales Bank, that I won't name, that changed its name, charges you $10.
Wow.
For every cash withdrawal off your credit card, even if you're thousands of dollars in credit. I did that when I went overseas, you see. And I was going to take money out of that and got hit with a fee.
You weren't being hit with a fee because you were doing foreign currency transactions, were you?
I've got another West Australian bank that the name is reversed. That only charges me 4 also, and charges me no foreign transaction fees.
Yes, well, I have a credit card that I can use overseas with no transaction fees.
Yeah,
so going back to Helen, who rang in earlier on this question, James. Helen, if you're still listening, that's certainly one of the questions to ask your bank, whether they're going to charge you any fees for a cash withdrawal. I certainly know one of the credit cards I have that I've done this with before and done cash withdrawals in Australia. I haven't been charged anything, but nonetheless, it's just something. I suppose what they may be saying, James, is, well, because we don't get a merchant fee off the merchant for you having a credit card transaction, we're going to charge you for but it may only apply if you're drawing cash out. I don't know whether that applies if you simply have a credit card transaction, if you buy off a trader.
No, not a credit card transaction.
Only
when
cash,
you're taking
cash withdrawals. Right.
Yeah.
All right, but
the other thing.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, just quickly, I've been a supporter. I like streaming so much that I supported $1 a day.
Good on you.
And this year it cost me more. It cost me $366 rather than $365.
Oh, dear. Oh, well. Well, thank you for your support anyway, James, and all the very best.
Bless you.
Cheers now. Bye. Time on 4CRB, 27 and a half minutes past 9. We'll say a very quick hello to Bill. G'day, Bill. How are you?
Good, thanks, John.
How can we help?
Last week I asked you a question as to whether a son living at home with an elderly parent who was paid by the parent, whether that constituted a paid carer.
Yes, and
you were going to give me an answer.
Yes, I did. I did start looking that up, Bill, and the answer was ambiguous. But I'm coming to the view that a son or a relative who is actually a paid carer would not be eligible as an attorney.
Righto. And one other question.
But look, I want to look into it further because it wasn't as easy to find the answer as what I thought it was, and I've been trying to get to you since I got on air this morning, but unfortunately, as you can see, we've just been inundated with calls, and we've still got another couple to go.
Right. One other question.
Sure.
Where persons appointed under a power of attorney, enduring power of attorney, have signed and dated before the creator, is that invalid?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if the attorneys have signed before the date on which the attorney, if they've signed the acceptance before the attorney has signed the power of attorney, then it is invalid, and I've had first-hand experience with that.
Righto. Thanks very much.
Okay then, Bill. All the very best. Bye now. Time on 4CRB. We're going to continue on a little bit. It's 29 minutes past 9, so we have 2 callers. We're going to take those, seeing as how we don't have any local news. We'll say a very good morning to Joe. G'day, Joe. How are you? Joe, are you there? Hello, Joe. No, we don't seem to have Joe, so we'll quickly move on to Richard. Hello, Richard. How are you today? Richard, are you there? No, they both seem to have disappeared. So whether they've been taken back to the switch and parked, if you have, I'll take those calls off air. Otherwise, thank you to all the people who've called in this morning to make for such an interesting program. That's probably getting towards that record Barry and I were talking about for the number of calls we can take during the program. I'll look forward to being back with you again next week for another program of The Law and You. But until then, as always, it's goodbye and God bless.